Hello, everyone, and welcome to the live webinar, Qt Lottie Embedding After Effects right into your application with Rebecca Worledge. And my name is Iris, and I'll be your moderator today. I work in the marketing team here at the Qt company, and I'm very excited to hosting this session today. I am very pleased to introduce today's speaker, Rebecca Worledge. She is part of the Qt Professional Services team as a consulting engineer. And before I hand over the mic to Becky, I have a few housekeeping items to cover about this presentation in the Zoom platform. So today's webinar will be available on demand after the live session in 2 days. I will also send you the recording and the presentation via email. Next, we'd love to hear from you during today's presentation and make it interactive as possible. So if you have a question for our speaker, please feel free to send it through the Q&A pane rather than the chat, and otherwise I'll be monitoring the general comments in the chat. We'll be answering questions at the end of the session. If we don't get around to your question during today's webinar, then we'll be sure to follow up afterwards. Lastly, we'd like to encourage you to share today's webinar with your social networks. You can use @QTProject and hashtag QTDev to post comments directly on Twitter and hashtag QTDev on Facebook or LinkedIn. So without further ado, I'd like to kick things off by welcoming Becky again. Over to you, Becky.
Thank you very much, Iris, and hello and welcome to everyone who's come to our humble webinar. I'm here to talk to you about Qt Lottie. Just a quick introduction from myself. As you have heard, I am Rebecca Worledge, also known as Becky. I'm working for the Qt company out of the Santa Clara office on the West Coast here in California. I'm not the author of Qt Lottie, but I am the maintainer of Qt Lottie, so it's my responsibility to ensure that the source code is kept up to date and it works, and to tell people that it's a wonderful tool and you should use it. Okay, so a little bit about Qt Lottie and what Qt Lottie is. Qt Lottie is a microanimation framework specifically for Qt Quick applications and for use in Qt Quick. So one of the things people have asked me is this how we should create UIs in Qt now? And no, it's not a new UI tool. It's really just for micro animations. It's fairly new. In fact, it's been around for a year. It's just released 5.13, just coming off technical preview now. It's kind of similar to SVG in many ways, the Lottie framework, and in fact, you can actually work Lottie into SVG as well. Of course, Qt SVG does not do animation, so this is the way we do it instead. Okay. My page is not turning. Give me a second. Okay. So what is Qt Lottie then, and when would you use it? Of course, as I said, it's a micro animation framework. So you see there's a heart animating there. Hopefully it's animating nice and smoothly for you, but over the web, I'm not sure how well that'll work. And it uses the body move in JSON format. So if you're not familiar with body moving, other than the Beastie Boys song, body moving is also a JSON format created by Hernan Teresi, and it's intended for After Effects animations. It's provided as a plugin which goes with Adobe's After Effects, and then you take your After Effect artifact and it turns them into a format or a JSON format, which is the body movement format. Newer versions of the plugin will also translate that JSON back to an After Effects file if you need to, so that's quite a cool new feature which is available. Okay, so I don't know how familiar you are with After Effects. After Effects is a movie, TV, video game. It's a post-production tool used in the graphics industry and the video industry. It's been around since 1993, so it's not a brand new technology, but it's fairly mature by now. In fact, it's such a good tool and it's so well known that it actually won an Oscar in 2019. It's actually kind of a movie star in the software business. So if you're already using After Effects, then cool. If you're coming at this from the Qt programming side of you, then this is what After Effects is. Of course, when I'm talking about Lottie animations and After Effects animations for the Lottie framework, I'm not talking about movies. I'm talking about something somewhat different. So yeah, take a quick look at After Effects. So if you're one of the engineers who's not familiar with After Effects, this is what it looks like. So of course, if you're creating a film in After Effects and you've got professional animators from the Hollywood side of things, you'll have something a little bit less crummy than this, but this is kind of thing we're talking about here. Here's the film in the background, and we have this graphic artifact which then animates along a path. It's that kind of animation that we're talking about when we talk about After Effects animations. Okay, so at some point the movie animations, the actual little graphical artifacts from the movie animations became kind of a thing in their own right. And what it looks like is that UX designers were using After Effects to demonstrate the kind of animations they wanted for applications and giving those to engineers. Of course, After Effects doesn't provide its own kind of After Effects runtime, although it exports to a lot of formats. It doesn't have a runtime. So the engineers were then re-implementing these animations into a software format so that they could just be embedded in the application. Body moving came along and it added another export format, a JSON file format. And this format, the difference here is that the format is specifically for embedding in applications. So it's not just a video and it's not just a GIF file, it's something more involved. I think this is 4 or 5 years this has been out, so it's reasonably new in software terms. By now, though, there's numerous formats out there you can run body moving in, and probably the best known, or for sure the best known, is the Lottie format, which was released by Airbnb. And that is quite widely used. You most likely have an application on your mobile phone which is using the Lottie format at some point. So you may wonder, why not just use the original Airbnb Lottie? Why do we have our own Qt Lottie? What is so special about our format specifically? It's a fair question. So Airbnb Lottie provides 3 runtimes. I actually think this might be out of date by now, and it might have 4 runtimes, but I haven't updated the slides yet. Basically, you have Lottie Web, which is the HTML format. You have Android and the iOS version. So these are pretty common. They're on the web, they're on Airbnb and Twitter and various places. And although they're very similar, each of them differ in ever so slight different ways. So an animation created for one may not always run the same on every other one. But I think actually writing for all of them is a fairly straightforward process. Qt Lottie provides one single runtime. So whereas you wouldn't necessarily want to load the whole of WebKit or Web Engine to run a single HTML thing, you could just run a Lottie file in its own Qt runtime, and that would make it a lot easier. And that will run everywhere where it's needed to. So desktop, Mac, Linux, Windows, Linux, and various embedded targets. It probably runs on QNX and Integrity, but I've never tested on these embedded targets, but at least in theory, it should work. And of course, we have a little bit of overlap, so you can run on Android and iOS if you're creating Qt applications there as well. So the Qt Lottie supported features subset is smaller than the subset that is the Lottie that will run on all of the Lottie platforms. That's a great sentence, I apologize for it. But of course, the great advantage is that Qt Lottie will run on Qt Quick. So it's got a more limited amount of features, but it will run on Qt Quick, which is nice. So yeah, Qt Lottie is Lottie for Qt. So yeah, you would use Qt Lottie where you are adding your micro animations into a Qt application. If you have animated assets already, if you're coming from that After Effects side, and you have them running on Lottie Web or wherever, you may be able to use them. It's not a given that they will work directly with Qt. If you have a UX team who is working in After Effects and is already creating, then they will be able to create for Qt Lottie. They just need an idea of the specification and how to test them. And of course, if you're an engineer who's been re-implementing designs in the past, then you can just run it straight from the export, which is probably a good thing because that will save you time. Okay, so the specification for Qt Lottie, this is perhaps the most important thing to know, is also slightly difficult. The original Lottie specification is available on GitHub under the Airbnb Lottie Web. We have an unsupported features text file which comes in the Qt Lottie source code. So you just really need to go through both of those to get an idea of what should run. Of course, body moving and Lottie are not W3 specifications, so things are not quite so tight and are not quite so well documented always. So this is the best way to do it, is kind of study the documents and see how well it runs. Okay. We've found with people who are using Qt Lottie at the moment that the biggest pain points have been things like gradients. We currently don't support gradient fill in Qt Lottie, which is kind of a shame, because we could probably do that fairly easily if we needed to. If people were asking for it, then we would be able to get the resources to do that. So that would be an interesting thing to do as well. We don't support merge mode, which is kind of where you have more larger complex After Effects animations, and we're not planning on adding that at the moment, mostly because we're aiming for the embedded micro animations kind of thing rather than full screen kind of UI. But again, that's something which we've been looking at as well, something we're aware of. Not so big pain points. Of course, we have images. Our support for images loaded in Qt Lottie is on its way. It's merged into the Qt Dev branch. Should be available in Qt 6, possibly 5.15, I think. So that should be out fairly soon. Fonts we looked at as well. We could do fonts as well. It's reasonably simple. But again, it's not something we're planning on doing. And the main reason for that is because we're not entirely sure that micro animations would really need much in the way of text. So we may actually implement that and provide it as a patch so that if people need it, then it's available. See how it goes, kind of thing. And of course, I mentioned earlier that Qt Lottie is Lottie that is supported by Qt. We were in tech preview mode for a year, I think, 5.13, 5.14, 5.15 sees Qt Lottie coming out of technical preview. And this is important because this means we are supported by our support team. If you have issues running Qt Lottie on your application, our support team are more than happy to help you out there and fix it up. Another question we hear quite often is where does Qt Lottie fit into the Qt toolchain? What's its role in the Qt ecosystem? As you're no doubt aware that Qt Design offering, the tools offered with Qt have expanded a lot recently, particularly Qt Design Studio, Qt 3D Studio, and of course, various other import tools. What is Qt Lottie's role in this? And of course, we're looking at the same as Airbnb's Lottie. It's basically, it basically offers a QML element that is an equivalent of the image element. The big difference is whereas an image is static generally, and you don't have much control over what images can do, with the Qt Lottie, you have this animation and you can move it backwards and forwards and tell it when to start and stop. So that fits into the tool chain, and if you're using it, if you're creating applications, QML applications with Design Studio, you can drag and drop your Qt Lottie animations and position them where they need to go using Design Studio. So it fits into the Qt API kind of as a new QML element. It's called the Lottie animation. Okay, so Qt Lottie, how to use it. What we'll do first is I'll take a look at a body moving application, body moving rendering, and run it as a Qt in Qt. Here's one which I have ready here, hopefully. Okay, so obviously I'm importing this from elsewhere. In fact, this came from the internet. If I run this, again, I'm not sure how well this will look when I run it, but it kind of looks, what we're aiming for is this kind of effect. To get that from the raw image I have here, what I need to do is, so first step you'll need to do is to go to Exchange and download the body moving extension. Of course, that's not something you would want to do in the webinar, so I have it installed and it is just here. And what you need to do, when it comes up, you specify a destination folder, ensure that it's selected, and then head into the settings to check that everything is there as you need it. When it comes up, you'll have basically just the body moving, and then you click render. Let's take a look at what we have, shall we? I'm going to run this application here. Okay, we'll take a look at this application in a minute. It's so interesting. So as you can see, I rendered that to the desktop. Just need to open that. And you'll see we have an application which doesn't seem to do much right now. In fact, it's just showing the contents of the test tube. So as I mentioned, the specification for Lottie is not a formal specification as per W3C, it's Airbnb GitHub specification. It has changed over time. So what we need to do to run with Qt Lottie, we need to head into the settings, toggle the advanced, and ensure that export old JSON format is selected. If we save that and then render again, we should see my application was running really smoothly yesterday when I was practicing this, but I think because we're live, it's now not running so smoothly, and I'm not quite sure what happened, but sure it will come up eventually. There it goes. So that's how it should look. Do that again. Yeah, we want a nice, cute little animation. If we wanted to go back into After Effects and change features, like we could change the shapes, we could change the colors of the shapes, we could do that and then replay it, and we would see a different set of things running. So in this case, if we change the fill from this kind of purple color into a bright green, and then re-render that, we should see the test tube appears bright green, and now it's running fine, so that we see the change. Okay, so that's kind of all there is to using the After Effects side. I'm not going to go into the how to use After Effects, mostly because I'm from a Qt software engineering side, and actually when it comes to using After Effects, I don't really know that much. It's harder to use than who'd have known. But that's how to use the body moving plugin, at least, to create the animation itself. So that animation, you'll have noticed, I didn't create that myself. It's taken from a website called lottiefiles.com. It's one of the biggest sources I'm aware of for downloading Lottie files, Lottie animations. This site is not anything to do with the Qt company, and it's not guaranteed that this anything downloaded from there will run with Qt Lottie itself. If you download a JSON file from there, you can, using the body moving plugin, you can import it into an After Effects format and edit it if you need to, but it's not guaranteed that that will actually be possible to fix them up. And it really depends as much on the animations themselves. Of course, if you've got a After Effects expert, then you're probably fine for that. So the application which I was running just now, which had the animation running in it, is the Qt side of things. Of course, we're using a file system watcher here. And this is a nice way I found for developing and testing Lottie files, is to create a file system watcher based application, which I have here, and it just connects up to the file itself. When the file changes, it then sends a notification out to the Lottie animation, and that's all down here. So when it comes to embedding it in the Qt application itself, it's fairly straightforward. This one, in this case, we just have an animation which reloads when it detects that the file has changed, and it's pretty simple. In fact, probably too simple for a demonstration. So what you're more likely to be using Lottie for, what most people use this for, is for kind of rendered or animated responses to user input. That's the classic use for Qt Lottie. So let's have a quick look at a Qt Lottie based button and see how that goes. Okay, here's my simple Lottie button again, because we're running over WebEx. I don't know how well this will perform, but what you should see is a button, a rectangle with an envelope, a square rather, with an envelope and a drop shadow. And when I click, you'll see it moves the drop shadow to give it a look that it's pressed. And hopefully you can see the animation running in the background. Not clear. But the code for this, again, it's fairly straightforward. It's very similar to using an image or similar kind of button thing. In this case, we just provide the Lottie animation, as you can see here. Lost my, there it is, okay. In this case, we set the autoplay to false. So when you load a Lottie animation, it will play itself. And we've given it a single loop. So when it runs, it will run hopefully just one time. This line here, you see I'm setting a scale on this one. Again, that's because the animation is downloaded from the internet. I did not write this animation myself. If you are writing your own, or if you are using Lottie for a serious production software, then we would recommend you don't use the scale at all. You rather write the software specifically, or you write the After Effects specifically for your application, and that's where the animations should come from. They should not be scaled. So yeah, in this case, we have the Lottie animation. We have various things which are supporting it to provide other effects. So we have the border from here. We have the behavior so that when the mouse button is pressed, then it will animate things. And when you click it, then it will run Lottie go to and play. So what you should be using really is Lottie.play, and that should play it from the start. But obviously when you download animations from an external source, there may be issues with it, and it's not a given that it will run quite as smoothly. If you write your own, though, it should work. Otherwise, though, please come and talk to us and we'll happily look into that. But yeah, we run this from the third frame and it works fairly nicely in this case. When it finishes, Lottie itself sends the finished signal. So we've provided kind of started, and rather than a finished, we could call that stop, I suppose. But we've got an animation done signal, and then you have the traditional kind of button kind of signals or mouse area kind of signals that you can send if you need to. So hopefully that's fairly simple. If you have any questions, do please ask and we can take a closer look. Okay. So again, what's not supported in Lottie: pre-compilations, expressions, characters and fonts, or obviously no fonts when there's no characters. Currently, only the shape layer is supported. So if you're creating a series of shapes, you'll create a series of shape layers, of course. Image layer is on its way, as I mentioned, shortly. Group strokes are not supported, and nor are nested repeater shapes, and the star shape also is not supported. One person did once ask me, can I make my own star? Of course, you are more than welcome to make your own star, and that should work just fine. We don't have anything against stars. It's the star shape in After Effects that I'm talking about there. So hopefully I've inspired you to go out and start looking closer at Qt Lottie, and here's how you get cute with Lottie, how you get started with it. So if you're not terribly familiar with Qt, Qt framework so far, then I will say come to our virtual TechCon. It's next week, and you can check out what's available, the agenda at this address here. You can install Qt Lottie from the Qt maintenance tool. 5.15, I think, is available as a beta release now, early release. 5.14 and 5.13 is also available in. 5.15 is the recommended because that's the non-tech preview version. Of course, if you want to use Qt Lottie with something earlier than 5.13, 5.14, you can actually build it from the source code. And because Qt Lottie is written in fairly simple, plain, straightforward Qt source code, it should run with earlier versions. And I used it with 5.9 and it worked fairly well. So you can do that too. You're more than welcome to contribute to the source code. However, if you're not got the time to or the inclination to do so, then just using Qt Lottie at all will help us develop it further, because obviously the more people use it, the more resources we get. So submit feature requests, bug reports, and also we're always happy to hear what you're doing with Lottie. So I would love to hear what you're going to be doing, what you're planning to be doing with it. We're very happy to learn more about how it's going. Okay, so I think the time said this was an hour-long presentation. It's actually only half hour, so I will take a look at questions, and I think we have some already. Can we leverage from within custom C++ components? It's a good question. So yes, in theory you can, in that Qt Lottie renders to a, it uses Qt Painter to renders to a Qt Painter surface. You would not be able to use it just like that. You would need to actually modify the code itself to run with your custom C++ component. But in theory, perhaps not so easy to use with a custom C++ component, but with some work, yes, you can do that. So there's that one. Any more questions? Another question, why do we not add the animation to SVG? Qt SVG, that's a good question. The reason we don't do that, oh, hang on, don't do that, something happened. So the reason we don't add animation to Qt to SVG is SVG is a fairly big protocol, fairly big system, and it's specified by the W3C. Currently, we only support the tiny profile, which doesn't support animation, and moving to a bigger profile would be a much bigger job than we realize. Of course, with something like Lottie, where we don't have such a big specification, then it's a lot easier to support that. Okay. Do we have any more questions?
There's one in the chat, Becky.
Yes, I see that now. Thanks for the webinar. What about the performance of the animations? Can we control FPS or quality? Yes, you can, indeed. So performance-wise, if I head over to Qt Creator itself here, I happen to have it open here. And I'm not going to go through all of the source code because it's quite a lot, but I'm going to bring up the Lottie animation header file because as a Qt engineer, we never read the documents, we just read the source code. So as you can see here, you set the source. You can also change the frame rate. So Lottie animations come with an embedded frame rate themselves when they're created, and it's usually about 30 frames per second, but sometimes more. You can change that. You can change the frame rate fairly simply in the Lottie itself. So if we change this one, I think this one's running at 30 FPS, but if we change it to 90, this might be a terrible idea, but let's see what happens. I don't know how well you'll see this playing it back, but if I click that, no, it's not actually looking that much different, but yeah, you can change the frame rate from the Lottie API. Additionally, you can also edit the quality. You can change the quality. We have low quality, medium, high quality, and you can run it backwards and reverse. Okay. Any further questions, or are we all happy with that?
Okay, any questions or any additional questions from the participants today? Going once, going twice.
I think we're good.
Hang on a little bit more. So again, thank you everyone. And as Becky mentioned, we do have the Qt Virtual TechCon next week on the 12th and the 13th, where we have 39 live presentations by our engineers, as well as Becky and our Qt ecosystem. So it's a really great way for anyone at any level to join and learn a little bit more about Qt, from anything from embedded systems to graphics accelerations to licensing and what have you. So do join us, and we hope to see you again online. Okay, thank you very much, and please contact us if you have any other questions or comments.
Yeah, do drop me a line if you're using Lottie, and please call us up.
Yes, thank you, Rebecca, and thank you everyone for joining. Bye now, and take care.